The job can be really difficult at times and really sad. And lots of people always say to me, oh, how do you manage it? How do you cope with it? And my answer to them is always, well, actually, even though it's a really difficult thing, cancer, often on the ward, a lot of the time it's actually quite a joyful place. And we have a lot of laughs with patients and families. That's not to take away from there are times when it is really devastating. I'd say I cope with these times myself by we have access to counselling. The rest of our team, the other social workers support each other. We talk, we cry. It really, I manage this job because it really makes you appreciate your own life and what you have in it. And that's how I manage.
Today I'm travelling to Bristol, where I'll be meeting Tabitha, her mum, and Susie, who's their social worker, and she also works with Young Lives versus Cancer. Susie supports young people ages from 16 to 25 who are diagnosed with cancer. We met in the Click House. This is where families go to stay after travelling many miles from the southwest for their hospital appointments and cancer treatments. We'll be exploring into how to become a social worker for charities working with children diagnosed with cancer and their families.
There really is not a typical day in my role. Days vary all the time depending on which patient's in, where they are in treatment. One day I might be spent on the wards doing a lot of support for hospital inpatients. It might be spending time with people who've just been diagnosed. It might be spending time with people who are at the end of treatment or off treatment, or it might be spending time with people who are palliative. Some days I've got a lot of meetings on, so I might not see patients. Some days I'm out visiting people at home. Some days I'm running support groups, bereavement groups. So there is no typical day.
I got diagnosed with a sarcoma in Bristol, and I've been coming up for 9 cycles now, and that's where I met Susie.
She's just always there. Every time we go up, isn't she? She's just there for us in every way. For me personally, she helped us with sort out our PIP form, which is just a really complicated form. And she sorted out a lot of red tape, got us a disabled badge, all the things that, that you don't really know about before this happens to you.
We offer a lot of financial support to families going through treatment. Examples of the types of support is we can access them grants from Young Lives versus Cancer. So when they're diagnosed, they get a grant of £100. There's then further grants if we see a need, which we often do, because often parents or carers or young people have to stop working. So we'll get extra exceptional hardship or crisis grants. I also spend a lot of time applying to other charities, so on behalf of families, so I'll help them try and get some travel costs back for long journeys. I might be getting grants if they need furniture at home or equipment at home or just clothes. I might be getting grants for things that they can do on the unit, so laptops, iPads. Another big thing of the financial support is I help families to get the benefits that they're entitled to. Often the application process is not straightforward. It's difficult even when you're feeling well, so when you're feeling ill, it's extra hard. So I'd help them get a lot of PIP applications, we help them with, and universal credit. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits applications that we assist with. A lot of my job is emotional support. We'll try and meet families from kind of the point where they're diagnosed, where their whole world is turned upside down, and we're just there as, a friendly face and a support, someone who can direct them, let them know we're here for them, let them know about what support is there to come. Often that will just be, in the initial stages, getting to know young people, talking to them, supporting parents, sitting with them, letting them cry, hugging them. Over time, the emotional support will be, again, just getting to know the families and letting them talk to us, hearing their needs. If we feel that there is a greater need for support, we can always refer on to counsellors or psychologists. But I also do provide, as well as to young people, I will also provide a lot of emotional support to siblings, friends, other family members. We also run some support groups. So we run a group on the unit where we try and get young people who are in hospital at the time, they'll come out. We just have tea and cakes, make it really light. And that's to try and link them up with other young people, because that's often a really good form of emotional support for them. We run parent support groups. So yesterday I ran a group that was called Living with Uncertainty, and it was a workshop run by myself and a psychologist, and it was supporting parents whose child's currently on treatment or just finished, and it was just about emotional support and how they live and cope with that uncertainty. I also run a bereavement support group. The social workers in the Southwest run that. We offer bereavement support walks. We offer face-to-face bereavement support groups. There's over-the-phone support. So there's just emotional support can come in all forms. Yeah, there's a lot of different things we do.
I can't bear to think what it would be like, because you don't know. This happened just overnight, and we were up in Bristol. We didn't know where we were coming, what we were doing. And then Susie was there as soon as we arrived, literally within a half an hour after we arrived. And she's just there as just a big support. I don't know what we would have done without Susie, really. I don't know how we would have coped, would we, Tabs? Just for all of us as a family, not just for Tabs, but for me, for Tabitha's got 4 brothers, for them, for the extra family that have come in. So yeah, she's just been fantastic.
Did you know that there are 17,300 social workers in the UK? And the main areas they're working in are schools, healthcare providers and child welfare.
Susie is like a fairy godmother because she wrote letters to my brother's work and my school about what happened, and she helped me with the beads of courage. She got me £100 in my bank account, and she got me sleeper shoes.
To be a qualified social worker with children diagnosed with cancer, the training includes a degree in social work or in other areas such as counselling, human services or psychology. You can also study for a master's degree in social work, and for many companies and charities, this is required in some areas. A social worker needs to be registered with the Social Work England, and the courses can take from 3 to 4 years, studying full-time. It is also best to have previous experience in working with children and families, as well as experience in a hospital or medical location.
It was overnight. We just went into hospital and suddenly Tabitha was in intensive care, and then we didn't hear about the diagnosis for quite a few weeks. And then when we heard the diagnosis, it was just such a shock. And, you know, you can never really ever imagine that happening to you as a family. And so when we came up to Bristol, you know, all the team have been amazing, but Susie just particularly has just been fantastic. And it's just my work, you know, I couldn't work. We've got our own business, so Michael had to go down to 3 days a week. The boys were in shock, so they had to have time off work to come up and be with Tabitha to help us all through. So we were all a team, really, but it turned everybody's life upside down. My parents, my sister, my brother. Shock for everybody.
To be the ideal candidate, many companies and charities look for someone who is a self-motivator and is able to work under pressure, to be supportive and empathetic to the families they're spending time with, cope and deal with challenging situations, able to build relationships, having good problem-solving and organisation skills.
I feel very fortunate to be in this role because I feel very privileged to be able to be let into families' lives at a time that is really overwhelming for them and probably going to be the hardest time of their lives. It's rewarding to be able to actually support them, and you can see that you're actually making a difference. It's unique as well because you meet families from all different walks of life, going through all different types of things. it's unique because it does really make you appreciate your own life, and stops you from moaning about the silly things, the little things. It helps you really appreciate every day. I'd say it's very grounding. It's also unique because we are involved with families with very different stages of treatment. So you might have a family who's just been diagnosed. You might be working with a family on treatment. You might be working with a family who's finished treatment and are 2 years down the line. You might be working with a family who have sadly just had the news that they're not going to get better. You might be helping a young person prepare for end of life. You might be working with a family who are going through bereavement and grieving. I don't think there's any other job out there that is so varied. The job can be really difficult at times and really sad. And lots of people always say to me, oh, how do you manage it? How do you cope with it? And my answer to them is always, well, actually, even though it's a really difficult thing, cancer, often on the ward, a lot of the time it's actually quite a joyful place. And we have a lot of laughs with patients and families. That's not to take away from there are times when it is really devastating. I'd say I cope with these times myself by we have access to counselling. The rest of our team, the other social workers support each other. We talk, we cry. It really, I manage this job because it really makes you appreciate your own life and what you have in it. And that's how I manage.
On my way home after meeting Susie and the family, I felt grateful to have met them, and it made me want to support them even more, knowing how much they've been through, especially with the effects that cancer has caused for everyone involved. Knowing how brave the family are, and how hardworking and determined that many social workers like Susie have committed to each and every family they support is admirable. Even more so in coping with the financial, physical and emotional struggles during difficult times. If you and your charity like to be involved with Charitable Waves, you can send an email to my website on rebeccahorton.com. Every community has a story. Everyone has a voice. Together, we can achieve anything.